Good evening, folks. I am Ed Overstreet, and I want to welcome you to the Night Sky Imaging YouTube channel. And tonight is going to be kind of like last night, if you've watched that, uh, with a couple of exceptions. I'm going to be imaging the moon with the Newtonian. It's an 8-inch Newtonian, and with a ASI 533 camera by ZWO. And then on the Smith Cassegrain, we're going to start imaging the Cocoon Nebula, which I think is NGC 4490. And so later on, after I finish doing my thing with the moon, I'm going to turn the Newtonian over to NGC 4490, the Cocoon Nebula, if that's the right catalog number. I'm thinking it is. They all get confusing, and so without further ado, let me share my screen, and we'll head over to or head outside. I'll point out what's going to be doing what. Let's see if my surveillance cameras outside are now they're turned off. We're going to turn them on, and so right now this is the Newtonian, and it's parked in the it's in the park position, and this is the Smith Cassegrain, and it is on NGC 4490 right now. I haven't started imaging, and we're about to do that. It's going to be transiting in a few minutes, and when it transits, it's going to flip. The weights will be on this side, and the telescope will be on the opposite side. But right now we're west shooting east, and then we're going to be east shooting west. I'm not sure when the transit occurs, but it's got to be pretty close because the telescope and the weights are almost horizontal. And last night I was looking at the moon through the Smith Cassegrain, and it has a field of view of 1422 millimeters with the reducer. And as I mentioned last night, on Sunday night, I'm going to be imaging the eclipse and streaming that through the NASA website. So I do want to get that right, and I plan on using both the Smith Cassegrain and either the 625 refractor Vixen, which I haven't put on here yet. I'm going to try this Newtonian. I would like to leave the Newtonian on for at least another 3 or 4 weeks before I switch telescopes. But at any rate, that's the plan. So I'm going to be honing in on the moon using the Newtonian. So with that, let's go to, this is the Newtonian. Let's go first. Let's start the imaging on the Cocoon before I wait too late. And let me make sure it's it's 4490, the Cocoon Nebula, and I'm going to take a 180-second exposure, 3-minute exposure. I'm going to take 100 of them. It's going to take 5 hours. Let's see when the transit's going to happen. At 10:42, so we've got about an hour before it transits, and I go about 10 minutes past transit before I flip. So here we are. Transit's right here at the zenith of this graph, and this is the path that my target is taking. So each one of these lines is an hour. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours, close to 6 hours before I start getting into daybreak, and before I get low on the horizon, which is about 28 degrees there. So I'd like to stop about there. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours of imaging time, and that's what I kind of counted on. And I've got a 5-hour imaging session set up. That's 180-second images. So let's go ahead and start running it. We're going to slew to the target, we're really already on the target, but it's been a while since I plate solved, so it's going to do that automatically. It's going to plate solve again, and it's going to take a test image. Taking an 18-second image, or 16-second image, and it's downloading it. I guess I have plate solve 2 working. It's found it. It is centering the scope. I am 467 pixels off in RA and 471 in declination. May sound like a lot, but there's the target. So it's going to recenter. And it failed. I like to get within 50 pixels. So we're at 7 pixels error in RA and 56 in dec. And there's the target. It's pretty close. It's close. I could stop now. A lot of imagers set the threshold at 100 pixels of error. That's fine. I probably should do that, but it just moved a little bit, and that ought to do it. Just taking a picture and comparing, and it did it. So it automatically now is going to resume the auto guider. And guiding is over here. And it's starting to guide again. I'm going to clear out guiding. We'll start from scratch. We'll stop the nonsense noise. And so we're off and running on our guiding. And it's probably started taking a picture. Okay, yeah, it's counting down. So we're taking our very first picture. There's 165 seconds left for this image, and I do want to kind of see what kind of image I'm going to get at 180 seconds on the Newt. The Newt's a very fast telescope at f3.9, and so I may not need to expose that long. I'm going to expose for 5 hours totally, but I may drop the exposure time to say 120 and then do it 130 or 40 times. Still get 5 hours in, but have more images with less time. It just depends on what influence the moon's going to make on my signal. And the one thing I'll be looking at is my mean ADU. And I want to see what that looks like, which kind of is a measure of my signal. I do have a light pollution filter on. Guiding's looking kind of funky. Probably should let guiding run for about 20 minutes. I usually like to do that before I start imaging to kind of get all the wrinkles out. But it's on its way, so let's head over. Actually, let's wait 70 some seconds until that's done and look at this first image. Then we'll head over and take the Newtonian on a trip to the moon, and we'll see what it looks like through the Newtonian's perspective. If you watch last night's video, you'll see what the moon looked like through the Smith-Cassegrain. It's pretty cool. The scene was pretty good for a while. It was the moon held still pretty well for us, and a lot of clarity. Golly, RA's going nuts over here. I'm gonna go over to. I'm gonna bring up PhD, and I'm gonna take this down to 1 second. Exposures. I'm gonna reset that. I won't be able to image if that doesn't straighten out. And let's go back. Scene's pretty good tonight as far as the. Here we go. It's kind of leveling out. Yep. We'll see if it continues. Should have kept quiet. Look at scene. Good RA go. I'm looking at the graph here. This is the a mirror of the graph that's coming on here. That's crazy. We started off good. I may have to stop everything. Let's try. Let's go up to 3-second exposures. Well, this picture won't be very good because guiding's gone nuts. But it's already downloaded one, so let's take a look at it. Okay, this is the Cocoon Nebula with some bloated stars, so I'm guessing that the RA and the DEC RMS are about the same. They're probably high, but they're about the same, so that's why the stars are still sort of round, but they're kind of bloated. Alright, let's just keep an eye on the guiding because that isn't going to work if it doesn't figure itself out. And I may have to go outside and start manipulating. It's bugging me. That's terrible. Let's go back to 1 second. In fact, let's go to a half a second. Wow. You're going to have to figure out what's going on. So one of the things that's going to be a problem is I need to probably go ahead and do another calibration on the mount. But where I want to calibrate the mount, the moon is. I'll show you what I mean. Bring around there. I want to calibrate close to the meridian, which is this line right here, at about 0 declination. So if I calibrate it on this star, that's plus 10 declination. If we go down here, that's plus 5, so that's good enough. But look how close I am to the moon. If I come down here, that's 0 dec. That's where I want to go. So I'm going to probably take this telescope over here to calibrate the mount, and then we'll come back and do some imaging. But always problems. But it's good to kind of see an imaging session where I have problems, and it kind of what my approach is going to be to sort things out. If guiding isn't going well, because guiding usually is in the 70s and 80s total RMS. Now these two numbers are close. If one was 180 and one was 30, my stars would be oblong. But because they're very close, the stars will be round, but they'll be big. They'll be bloated. And if it ever gets where one is sizably higher than the other, doesn't make any difference which one, then you get the oblong stars, kind of like you're out of polar alignment. Now I know I'm polar aligned, but DEC is still doing crazy things too. Tell you what I'm going to do. Sometimes this happens. I'm going to go open up. Let's get the full size image to screen. This is the second image, and I'm getting some oblong stars. All right, let's go to where do I want to go? I want to go to telescope, and now I want to go to camera, and nope, I want to go to auto guide. I forgot what I was going to do. I'm going to just take dither off for a minute, and this delay, because I noticed some of this is happening after I dither. So let's close that out. I got a dither. Look at that. It's like a saw blade. All right. Well, that just kind of guiding do its thing right now, and I'll come back and fix that, or try to, and it might involve. I'm gonna go ahead and pause. It's pointless. I'm going to abort, and I'll probably just delete those images. So I'm going to just stop imaging and let guiding do its thing until I can calibrate them out. But let's try to get the other Newtonian started. Oh, by the way, I imaged the sun this morning, did a time lapse, and I went ahead and just ran them through AutoStacker. I ran it through alignment, not alignment, but through sharpening, and then through alignment. And then I went ahead and did a quick movie just to see if it's worth working with. And I only picked 100 of the 312 frames that I took, so I could rapidly look through it and see if it's worth a flip. And I think I can get a good time lapse. So this is some activity on the surface that's going on. So I wanted to show that with you. And that came from solar imaging that I did this morning. So good. All right, let's go now to the other telescope. Let's unpark the mount. Let's make sure I got the outside. We're still logged on. We're going to move this one, and let's bring up my planetarium software that I use. And we want to go to the moon. So let's click slew. And so here comes the mount. It's slewing. Let's pull up our and you can see as the telescope moves that you can see it moving here also on the map. So it's locked onto the moon, and here we are. It's supposedly locked onto the moon, so we can go ahead and close or get rid of that for the time being. Now let's go over to SharpCap. I had to download this software, and look, we're right on it. There is the moon. And I'm using a one-shot color camera. Last night I was using the 183 ASI 183 MC. It's a color camera by ZWO, and that was working really well for me. So yeah, I think this isn't the largest field of view. What? Here we go. Okay. So this will be a good view of the moon for the eclipse. And a matter of fact, we're going to see a shadow similar to this as the eclipse reaches about the midway point. So this is really what I wanted to know. Let's zoom in to about 640, 480, and we can see, yeah, gonna move around the moon. It's more illuminated tonight than Clearly it was last night. And by Sunday it'll be a full moon. Overexposing it. Okay. Looks pretty cool. Alrighty, we're at 116 frames per second with this camera at this field of view. So let's go ahead and take a quick capture of 1,000 frames, and let me make sure that I have it in a directory. We do. So good. So let's knock off 1,000 frames. Let's brighten it a little. Let's knock off another 1,000. Actually, I'm going to have both telescopes on the moon. La 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 la, da da. Let's take it's going to take a while because we're now at 17 from 116 frames per second to 16. So far we've taken 300 frames. Remember the Moonies? You young folks won't know what the Moonies were. They used to be in airports and they'd walk the streets. I wonder what happened to them. They had nothing to do with the moon. It was a Eastern religion cultist type organization that went around asking for money. They were in every airport. They wore white sheets, bed sheets, draped around them, the old Moonies. When was that? In the 60s, 70s? I forgot to bring the comments up, so if you're making comments, I don't have them. I can't tell. If you are, apologize. Okay, we got that picture. All right, I'm going to, I really wanted to see what kind of a view I would have with the I've never imaged the moon with the Newtonian, and I've never imaged the moon with the ASI 183 color camera. Wait a minute, this is the 533 color camera. So that's what it looks like. I'm going to go ahead and close the camera. And I'm going to close Sharp Cap. I don't need it anymore. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my acquisition software, and I'm going to slew over to NGC 4490, which is the Cocoon Nebula. And let's take a look and see what's going on there. Here's the telescope, and it should look like this because this one is on 4490, so they're both going to be imaging the same target. They're both going to be looking exactly alike. position wise. And if we look on our software, then it's moved over here. From here, it's sitting right there right now, and so we're good. So we slew there. I'm going to hit it one more time, and now let's center it. Oh, it says it can't center. The camera's not connected. I had disconnected the camera. I got to cool it too, because both SharpCap and Sequence Generator Pro can't be connected to the camera at the same time. So you have to, if you're using one program, and I didn't realize that until I installed SharpCap, and I just installed SharpCap about an hour before I went online. As last night I was going to do this and didn't have SharpCap installed, and I had to go find my key, which serial key, which activates the Pro license. And I knew last night if I tried to find it, I'd spend far too much time trying to get it installed. So that's why I decided to give it a go today. We don't need this now. We can just go ahead and get it out. All right, now let's try to center on our target. So we're now trying to plate solve. While it's plate solving, let's head over and see how terrible the guiding is over here. Look, crazy. So let's now stop guiding. Let's go over here and let's just stop this altogether. Wow. Sometimes that's just scene conditions. I'm curious to see how my other guiding goes. And I didn't notice that the moon looked all that bad from a scene standpoint. But bear with me a minute. I'm going to go up on my and scene is supposed to be average. Let's go down here. Yeah, it's rated 4. It's in the green, so we're pretty good. So I just think it's my equipment then. Ho 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 ho. All right, we've already plate solved, and now it'll be a lot smarter because smaller. So here's the Cocoon Nebula. There happens to be a Lagoon Nebula, but this is 4490, catalog number NGC 4490, and so let's run the sequence. Well, let's don't run the sequence. Let's clear and stop. Let's start looping. Let's find a guide star. Let's start guiding. This don't look too hot either. I'm at 120, 119. Pedacus. At a half a second. Oh, I don't want to be at a half a second. Let's go to a second. I think this will level out all right. So I don't guess it's seen. I guess it's the mount. So I'm going to have to go. Let's go ahead and run the sequence. And it says it hasn't cooled down. It's trying to cool, but I'm going to go ahead and start it. It's going to slew to the target recenter. So while it's doing that, let's head back to the other messed up, and let's just we've stopped this. So let me bring up my planetarium software, And let's slew right here. And let me click on slew. And here comes the mount. Let's bring up my outside camera. And it's coming around. You cannot probably see it, but right here I've got a Nikon D810 camera, and I'm taking a time lapse. I've got it set to ISO 1600. I'm taking 25-second exposures. We'll take 400 of them. Okay, we're on that star, so let's bring up guiding. Let's clear this nonsense out, and let's go to looping, and let's find a guide star, and I'm going to hold down the shift key and click on begin guiding, and it's going to tell me, are you sure you want to force a recalibration? And I do. So it's going to start moving them out. I think I know what I've done. There we go. It's moving the star. I think I'm going to have to go back outside. Oh, Padakis. And rebalance them out. I made some. Oh, yeah, that's what it is. My guess is that I'm going to go out. I'm going to need to go out and balance them out. At least in RA. Okay, we're moving, clearing out the backlash right now. I'm watching down here. We're clearing out the backlash. And these Atlas Pro mounts, they're nothing but Skywatcher EQ6 mounts. They have, and they're not high-end mounts, and they have a ton of backlash. They all do. Both of them do. I've had them hyper-tuned. Both of them. They've been sent off, and they're belt-driven. They're good mounts, but and normally I get very good RMS readings for both of them. I'll go ahead and run Guiding Assistant, because if you haven't forced a calibration when your guiding's nuts, it's a good idea to do that. And it's also a good idea to, we're still trying to clear out the backlash. That's the problem. Let me show you a little trick. This thing needs balancing, and so I'll show you a trick that will probably fix it. I'm going to bring up my mount. I'm going to go down to, say, half a second. I'm going to drop my thing down so I can see the stars better up there. I'm going to bring up my hand controller, my virtual. I'm going to put it on, say, 2. And I'm going to move north and take the backlash out. And these stars should move. Let's go down to 1/10 of a second, because they're not moving. And let's do it again, north. Oh, we're not looping crazy. My bad. I shut it down. Oh, I thought, what's going on? All right, let's move it north now. See the stars moving? And now let's move it west. And when you do that, you take the slack out of the gears, and you put pressure on them. But I need to go to make my camera heavy in RA and weight heavy in declination, and I'll be better, and then recalibrate. So let's go ahead and see if we can't force this calibration though, and try it again. Ah, let's get this back to say 2 seconds, and let's try it again. It's hard to find a star sometimes when you're exposure timing is 1/10 of a second. It still may have backlash issues, and I'll probably end up just going out and doing a rebalancing. Also check my cables. Oh, daggone. No, that's not this one. That's not this one. But I do have to go back out. The Newtonian, I'm surprised it's doing okay, because this is the fifth category. The Newtonian, there's a fan on the back of the Newtonian that I connect to the Pegasus power box, and I run that fan before I start imaging, and I didn't unplug that, so that fan's just a running, and so that doesn't help your guiding, just vibration, or your it doesn't help to have that motor running vibration. I'm making some fundamental rookie type errors tonight. This backlash issue is all balancing related. It's really having a hard time getting it cleared up. Let's let it go and see how long it takes it to. That's a nutso. While that's trying to figure itself out and run a calibration, I'm going to head over to the other one. That's the time lapse for the sun, and here, why are we still? That thing was still, what? Okay. Well, the plan was to image. We're now imaging. The whole time we were over there, it was trying to plate solve, and it wasn't very far off. I wonder what in the world was. All right, here's our guiding. It looks okay. Over here. And we're about to get our first image, and I want to see what the mean ADU is. Ah, guiding. Look what happens. I may have to take this over and calibrate it. It's crazy to go from one night to the next, not have any guiding problems last night at all. And then tonight, and my mounts haven't moved. They stay pier mounted outside the entire time. Go figure. Now that's nuts. This image will be tossed. Let's go ahead and take it though, or finish. We have 34 seconds left. I want to see what the mean ADU is. Flare it out. Oh. Okay. It's kind of hot outside tonight. It's 60 degrees out, 61 degrees. Oh, good. The dew point's at 47 degrees. All right, here's our first image. See what happens when you have a spike like that? These stars have a attachment to them right off to the left. Doo-doo. Double doo-doo. I hate to lose an image. Okay, here's what we're doing. Game plan change. Golly. We're going to stop this imaging session too. I'm just going to abort it. Holy. We're going to stop guiding. Let's just go ahead and stop it. Let's go back to the other and see what's happened to it's still it hasn't finished calibrating. Never in my 10 years, let's see, 2009, 10, 12, 13, 14 years of doing this, we've started guiding finally. Now let's take a look and see. I'll bet this is crazy. Look at here. This is all backlash. My declination. Oh man. This is a balancing issue. It has to be. My declination rate is 4.5. My RA is 13. They should be almost exact. Let me see one other thing. Have I screwed up? Let me see what I have. I have it set to 90, 90. All right. I'm going to go ahead and park the scope. We've stopped guiding. Let's stop it altogether. I'm going to disconnect. Guiding. Clear it. I'm going back home to park. And I've got my RA rate set to 90. I'm going to take this down to 60 for RA and deck. That's fine. That's fine. We've parked. I'm going to unpark, and I'm going to resync my encoders. Okay. All right. Now let's let's go back to the other and see how the guiding's going over the. It isn't going to be any good because wait a minute. Okay, this is all right. Let's go back. We parked it. Let's clear this out. All right, this one I'm going to go rebalance. This is my Smith-Cassegrain. I'm going to have to go out and work on that one. So I'm going to probably be signing off in a minute. I am going to go ahead and, will be a while. I'm just going to turn the cameras off. I'm going to disconnect everything. My outside, but I didn't like this. I want to lower this mean, so I'm going to probably end up with a 122nd, 100 and I'm going to try a 2-minute exposure and see what I get, and raise the gain up So what is the gain? It's at 139.20. So I'm going to go up to 200. 200 and take a shorter exposure. Let's see if I can't lower the gain. Oh, lower the mean. All right. I'm talking to myself. And so 2 is sitting idle. So we're parked. If we bring up our outside camera and turn it on, the Smith Cassegrain, the one on the right, should be looking at me. Okay, it's parked. Let's go back to this one that has some issues, and let's take this one. Where was that? What was the star we picked? I think it's this one right here. That's a declination 01. Let's slew there. So we're going to slew we're going to take this one over and we're going to run a calibration on this one. This one I have to rebalance. I need to move. I think I'm okay in declination, but I balanced this without this heavy dew shield on it. And so I need to make it more camera heavy. So I'm going to loosen the knobs here, and I'm going to slide the telescope down slightly and make it a little heavy in deck. All right, let's pull up let's pick a good guide speed here. Let's go to 2 seconds. Let's pick up our we are looping, and let's move north. Let's just nudge it north. That's good. And west. That's good. All right, take a little of the backlash out of it. And so now we're going to pick a guide star. We're going to hold down the shift key and click on guiding. Yes, we want to force calibration. And I'd go out while it was calibrating and balance it, but when I put the headlight on, may shine it in the guide scope and screw it up. Also, daggone it, I got that time lapse going and I don't want to get in front of that camera. I have a dilemma. So I think I'm just going to park the Smith Cassegrain and not image with it tonight. I'll get it good and balanced tomorrow. I'll image with it tomorrow night. We have one more night of promised clear skies. And I'll just take the Newt. But I'll check my cables. Oh, I do have to go out and unplug the Newtonian, that fan cable. I don't remember disconnecting it. Also, I need some more coffee. I'm out. I have a bad habit of drinking coffee all day, all night. It doesn't bother me, I sleep. When I go to bed, I'm dead. I'm out of it. And I will have drank a pot of coffee from 6 o'clock. Actually, I drank it from 6 in the morning until 11. I stop. Then I make another pot, or my wife does, around 6 at night after dinner, and I'll drink it to wee hours in the morning. Okay. This is looking a little better. My guide scar is moving. Now we've started guiding. And let's see what... Okay, now this is what we should look like. These perpendicular lines, and as you can see, the RA rate and the declination rate, although not exactly, they're pretty close. So now we can go ahead and let this thing sleep. It's wanting to go to sleep. Let's run the guiding assistant. I go to tools, and I'm going to come down here to guiding assistant, and it won't do any guide. It's going to take all corrections off of it. It won't do any guiding at all. And I'm going to let it run for about 5 minutes. And it's going to make a recommendation. It's going to measure my backlash, my declination backlash. RA backlash isn't normally a problem because your gears are already always engaged, moving in that one direction of right ascension. But theoretically, if you are precisely polar aligned, there's not much, if any, movement in declination. And sometimes when it has to move, the gears have a little slop in them, and it's a delay move. And that backlash is what will create these spikes. And then when it starts, you see a bump in the graph. So far we're at 86 seconds. We're going to go to 5 minutes, which is 600 seconds. You don't have to go that long. My total RMS is 46, 45. I happen to know my polar alignment's around. It's less than 1 arc minute, but it will take 5 minutes for all that to iron out. It started out at 29 arc minutes, and it'll work its way down to... Don't jump the gun when you're running guide assistant. In fact, don't pay a whole lot of attention to your polar alignment if you don't run this at least 5 minutes. If you stop it after 2 minutes, you may think you're not polar aligned. It may be at 5 or 6 arc minutes. You may think, oh, I need to go out and run another sharp cap polar alignment routine or put the pole master on. But chances are, had you ran it another couple minutes or 3 or 4, then it would work its way out till you can see it's finding its way back to where it belongs. But it was 29 arc minutes off after about 15 or 20 seconds of running this. Just ignore it. So guiding's going to be okay here. Don't pay any attention to this runaway RA graph. That's just the drift the RA has when there's no corrections made. Now we're at 1 arc minute. And the name of this is going to take some time. I'm going to go ahead and once this levels off like that, I'll just go ahead and stop it. I may not run it for 5, so let's just stop it because I want to show you the recommendations. It's going to take it a minute because it's going to clear backlash first. And we'll just watch it. Well, what a night this turned out to be. One good thing, though, the Newtonian and the moon paired up nicely. So I will definitely have that going. Okay, it's suggesting that my exposure be between 1.5 and 3.5. So I'll go to the low side always on on any on any of these mounts that I have. It's suggesting that I set the minimum move in the RA to 7 and to declination to 10. And then it didn't do my backlash graph. I wish it would have. I wanted to show you that. And I don't know why it didn't, because let's, I'm going to shut this out. I'm going to bring up the brain. I'm going to go over here, enable backlash compensation. Well, I don't know why it didn't run it for some strange reason. Okay, let's go ahead and stop this. And let's bring up our imaging software. I'm going to shut this down completely. Save it, go ahead. We're going to start it back up. Clear out this, clear out that, and we are, I didn't park the mount. Oh no, I'm still, as a matter of fact, I parked this mount. We've got Smith Cassegrains parked on a double check, and then we're over here at the guide star. Okay, so now let's turn on our camera and let's start cooling it. Our moonlight focuser, our mount is connected. We'll leave that at 122nd. We probably won't get 5 hours in, so let's do 130 and reset progress. Okay, let's slew over to our target. Here we go. Let's bring up our we've ran calibration, and we ran the guiding assistant, which I recommend if you're getting bumpy problems with your guiding. And I accept the recommendations that Guide Assistant gives me. And so I'm looking to see if I have any. Yeah, it's this cable coming out of the back of this. That cable is definitely. Oh man, it's time to transit. Let's see. What time is the day? Is it? It's 10:41. And what time is the transit? There's no point even centering it. I think it's 10:44. Oh, 10:35. Oh, I don't know why it went there then. Let's go back. Let's park the scope. I'm gonna go back and let it wait for a few minutes, and then because no sooner than I get this plate solved, the mount's gonna flip. So as close as we are to doing this, I'm going to go ahead and park it. So here's what I'm doing. I'm parking the mount. I'm going to wait till my target NGC 4490 passes the meridian. Then I'm going to slew back to the target, and I'll image from the transit to about 4 in the morning with this camera, provided the guiding has improved. And then I'll just shut down completely the SCT, power everything off there, because I need to go out and rebalance that. I am going to sneak out, though, and pull the card off the back of the Newtonian while I'm waiting for the transit. So that's what's going to happen. With that, guys, I enjoyed getting nothing accomplished but a view of the moon through the Newt. Everything else was just a total learning experience, waste of time. But maybe we can get the wrinkles ironed out, particularly of the balancing, and also a reminder to me to disconnect the fan cable. So with all that being said, have a great rest of the evening, and I'll catch you live again perhaps tomorrow morning. If there are no clouds, I'll be back at the sun.